front of there's a autism channel, the autism world or the Aspie world. And the guy who runs it, he's got Asperger's. He's also a fucking sellout. But at least he's making money being a sellout, I guess. But that's not what the video is about, is it? This video is about, alright, I've seen 5 or 6 of these things pop across my news feed. You shame us for everything that you do, and then you blame everything that you do to manipulate men into spending 60% of their paycheck on you after you spend 100% of your paycheck on you. It's right. Women make 80% of the purchases, have 80% of the purchasing power in the United States. Now, part of that purchasing power comes from superficiality. It comes from painting your face to be in competition with someone else. You paint up your face so that you will look prettier than the next girl. Your eyelashes are longer than the next girl. They're darker and bring more focus to your eyes and more contrast than the other girl. Meanwhile, you have blonde eyelashes. So you paint on eyelashes, basically, because people can barely see your eyelashes. Well, you're painting an image on your face. You are false advertising. You are actually, no, you're not false advertising. What you're advertising is superficiality. What you are going to attract is a superficial person. And you're likely to pretend that all men are superficial because you advertised for a superficial person. When you want to say that you painted yourself up for you, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. That isn't just for you, or you do it in the privacy of your own home. There is a goal in mind. There is a purpose to you wasting that much time painting on your face. You are wasting time because the only man that you are going to attract painting on a different face, painting it on, dressing like a $2 hooker, and then going to the bar to get drunk. And then it's men's fault that you advertised sex. Superficiality, that's sex, yes. You dressed for sex. You went to a place where people are going to intentionally deprive their bodies of oxygen by consuming alcohol. You are there to get attention from idiots who are only there to get laid. It's not like you're going to a pool lounge and hanging out with your buddies. When you go to a nightclub, that's not chilling with your homies. Are you really going out to have fun? And what kind of fun are you trying to have? And who are you trying to have that kind of fun with? A lot of clubs will let you in based on how pretty you are. And if you're too ugly, they won't let you in the club, and they're allowed to. And we got a lot of fat, ugly women who are pissed off about that. Except that in those cases, no man gets in past that. It's because those pretty women are going to attract men who are going to go there and deprive themselves of oxygen. And these women know that that's why they're getting in for free. That is why they know they're going to get their drinks bought for free. They painted that face on specifically for benefits that they know are no good for them. They went out, advertised for something, got what they advertised, and then blame all of us for it. When a woman asks you how she looks before you go out in public, and you say your honesty is the best policy, right? She doesn't want you to tell her the truth. This is a trick question. If you tell her the truth, hey, you look better without makeup, She's not looking for that answer. What she wants from you is validation of all of the time that she spent to make herself look pretty, because it's the only thing she has to offer or bring to the table in exchange for eating up a lot of your time, bitching, whining, and moaning until she gets what she wants, and spending 60% of your earnings and 100% of hers. This gives you 40% of your earnings to spend. This gives you 20% of your household earnings if you're both earning the same amount, which a woman is not likely to earn the same amount as a man, because she is not likely to be willing to work as many overtime hours as a man, because it's not essential for her, because she is not having to spend 60% of her income to make a man happy. He is spending 60% of his income to make her happy, and he has to work to do that. All she has to work at is, well, the things that she has to offer. The two things that are the most superficial in our lives, and the two things that women bitch the most about men being. You go out and you advertise and you actively go to the places where you are going to find men who are only superficial. You dress yourself so that only men who are superficial will be interested in you. I get that it makes you feel better when the right man gives you attention because you dress like a $2 hooker, because he's good looking. But is he really the right kind of man? No, he's the kind of man that you're going to blame every man for. Women have 100% of the dating power in this country. 100%. When it comes to heterosexual relationships, obviously, women don't have a say-so in two men dating. But when it comes to men and women dating and our social expectations, a man is supposed to ask the woman out. He has to grow the balls to approach her and ask her out. But when you've got women who are literally wigging out and freaking out on men who glanced their direction, and then throwing themselves at a good-looking man like a $2 hooker, it shows this has nothing to do with men at all. It has to do with how we have taught women not only that they're allowed to be superficial, but that they are allowed to lie, cheat, and steal our money through, well, really, what is she bringing to the table? What is she bringing to the table other than bitching, whining, and moaning and complaining when she doesn't get what she wants right when she wants it? I got to see my stepdad commit felony after felony in the state of Nebraska with his electrical business because she wanted pretty things. She didn't give a shit about her kids. She cared about cocaine and flowered couches and angel wing chairs. My mom can go and have sex with anybody that she wants, and she does. My stepdad is in an open relationship that he did not agree to because he's a simp. My mom didn't grab Scott up because she was attracted to him. She saddled up to Scott because she didn't want to work. All the money that she was getting from 3 different fathers and from the state, because she's got 4 kids and a single mother, and her boyfriends, although they pay a lot of the bills. My mom doesn't count that. That frees up money for cocaine. Never mind how a man feels. We don't matter. The Me Too movement is the most disgusting thing that there is, because it does nothing to alleviate the pain for male survivors of sexual assault, sexual abuse, spousal abuse, including financial abuse. And that is something that we have taught every woman in America that they are supposed to try. That if she doesn't want to work as many hours as a man, and for certainly not as many overtime hours as a man, that because she's not earning as much as he is, that she is somehow oppressed, even though she is spending 100% of her earnings and 60% of his. Meanwhile, what is that 20% of a man's earnings most likely to go to? Overhead. That's right, overhead. Other than buying the 80% of stuff that she wants, your additional 20% goes to paying the actual essential bills. And once you are not able to make ends meet on your 20% of your income, she is going to leave you for somebody else that she is going to bleed dry. And she's going to tell everybody that you're a no-good deadbeat because you ran out of money because she spent it all. Now, when we consider that women have 80% of the buying power in the United States, 80% of purchases, 80%. And we consider that women, if we don't count the benefits that they get that men don't, and we do the math based on women and men working the same amount of hours, women earn more money than men per hour. Men earn more money than women overall, but women earn more per hour. And don't try using Donald Trump, who's ripping us all off, to try to pretend that because Donald Trump, that one guy right there represents every male in the country. He doesn't. I don't know a single male in my life who got $1 million loan from his daddy at 18. How many of you do? Stop victimizing men and tell them it's their fault. If you work the same amount of hours as men, and let's say you do earn exactly the same amount of money, we'll pretend that women aren't actually earning more money per hour than men. We're talking about wages. We're not talking about rich assholes like Trump. We're talking about you and your people, the people in your social class. Let's say you as a woman and you as a man, whichever you happen to be, you're earning the same amount as someone else. You're both in a relationship. They earn the same amount as you do. They have the same type of job as you do, same type of vehicle, same pretty much everything. Everything is equal, right? Well, it's not going to be equal. Because again, like we said, men are supposed to pay for stuff. Men are supposed to gather up the nerve to go across the room. If you're not an attractive man, you may not make it across the room before she is pretending like you might rape her. Oh, he was looking all rapey. No, he was ugly. He didn't artificially paint himself up like you did in competition. If a man and a woman in a relationship earn exactly the same, let's say both of them earn $50,000 a year. All right, that's pretty close to the average. For a man, for a woman, it's about $4,000 less. Because a woman works about $4,000 less in overtime. But There is $100,000 earned, this is the average, right? For both men and women, pretty fucking close. So between two of you, you earn $100,000 a year. And you're spending 60% of his wages. You are earning $80,000 a year. He is earning $20,000 a year. So no, men do not make more money than women by any stretch or measure of the imagination at any point. When you consider special benefits, like the fact that she can literally live in college, as long as she keeps having kids, she can stay in college till the day she dies. The only thing that's going to stop that is her hitting menopause, and even that isn't going to put the brakes on it, because now there's other stuff that she's going to expect and qualify, because now she's old. Where is her Social Security income that she put in? She didn't put in any. But she's going to get it anyway because she's a woman who mooched off the system her entire life. And then there's these women who are mooching off of men. They're getting a boyfriend when they're ditching their husbands. And their boyfriend is paying for a whole bunch of stuff. A woman who is two-timing 3 to 5 men, which is not uncommon in the United States. A friend zone are those men too. The ones who you lead on and pretend that you like them just a little bit, just enough for you to manipulate them into doing what you want, and then you forget about them again. You lead on that sim just enough to keep him hanging on in the back corner. That's right, you're manipulating him using your vagina and your looks, and neither one of them are real now. Nowadays, finding a woman who's got a real vagina might be real difficult. Because while we are not very likely to cover most children's cancers with our medical insurance in the United States, many medical insurances are now starting to pick it up. So if you start working for them, even though, well, let's say you decide that as a man or a woman who is a parent, let's say you're a man who wants to transition to being a woman and you have 2 kids. Let's say one of your kids has cancer and you want a sex change and you work for CU Boulder. Now, mind you, this actually happened. If you work for CU Boulder, their insurance will cover you getting a sex change as long as you work there for 6 months. It's covered. You can transition from a man into a woman or a woman into a man. But there's over 100 types of cancer that your child could get that CU is going to say, it's not covered by your insurance so well. When you have unprotected sex because you did something stupid, it took 2 of you to have unprotected sex. And we all take care of your children. We all put in for your children, for your college. We all pitch in for that. Every American pitches in for that, whether they're working or not. Because every level of taxes, a portion of it does go to those things, doesn't it? It goes to her getting free college. How much money does it cost for a woman to spend 18 years in college? When we're considering it's $100,000 to $120,000 a year, we're talking in the millions. Millions of dollars for her to have free college. Then we're talking about the benefits that she gets for having children and not having a job and making no effort to get a job because she's in college. She gets special exceptions. And we pay for all of this. Meanwhile, she's also getting alimony from her ex-husband. She's also getting child support because she gets those children, because she's more available because she doesn't work. And then she's got a boyfriend who's paying part of her bills. Now, when you're looking at child support and alimony, we're talking on average 70 to 80% of a man's paycheck. If we look at 80% of a man's paycheck, takes two parents to raise them kids. If it's 80% of his paycheck, not 80% of the buying power between his money and hers, we're talking about 80% of his money going to a woman who is getting free college, free money from the government, free insurance, free medical benefits. Everything for her is free. She has literally earned absolutely nothing. All she did was spread her legs and have unprotected sex. What did she bring to the relationship to begin with? A painted face and a vagina and nothing else except ambitions to spend his resources. In most divorces, she takes the house despite the fact that he's the breadwinner. Women are 80% more likely to not have a job. 80% more likely to be a stay-at-home parent. When we have step-parent or girlfriend relationships with a single father, that woman is also expecting that single father to expend his time and his resources on her, in addition to whatever he's paying to his ex, in addition to what he's paying for taxes, so that all of these women who are doing this can do it for absolutely free, and he's doing the earning. He's doing all of the work to support how many women at this point? When she's taking 80% of his paycheck through alimony and child support, he has to live on 10% of two people's wages. Still two parents. He's working with 10%. She has control of 90% of everything, and he has control of 10%. And that's if they have equal jobs, equal responsibilities, and equal pay. Men are walking away from women because we are tired of being victimized. We are tired of being led on. And I'm not talking about just sexually. There are a lot of people who have been taught to lead us on in many other ways, like promising that you're going to help us if we do this or we do that. When it is an at-risk adult that you're doing that with, you're committing a felony. And then you want to hide behind your kids and talk about how you're being a responsible parent. No, you're not a responsible parent. You are a full-time mooch. God bless America and all that, right? When you ask us a trick question and we give you an honest answer, you want us to validate your looks and your vagina, the only things you're bringing to the table. You bring nothing else to the table except debt. A man statistically gets nothing from a relationship with a woman except debt. Having a girlfriend is fucking expensive. Having a wife is even more expensive. Getting a divorce is even more expensive. Men are trapped in marriages because of bias. No woman in the country has the right to complain that men earn more money than women, because it is simply not the case in any stretch or measure at any point in time. The only way for you to get away with that is to cut out all of the poor men and focus strictly and exclusively on Donald Trump, Bill Gates, and people like that. When women in our government vote for things that a lot of women are against, do they blame that woman or do they blame men? They're taught to blame men. They're taught that we are piggy banks. We are manual labor. If she doesn't have the money to move, there's a man who will help her move. And all she's got to do is bat her eyes. Then there's women who get pissed off at all men. You know, these fat heifer women. Now that's mean to say, isn't it? Body shaming. Well, with all due respect, these fat heifers are body shaming us. We can't handle a big woman because we got a small penis. Well, could that have anything to do with mutilating a male's genitalia in this country at birth for a 40-year-old fat woman's pleasure? Ew. That is preemptive pedophilia. That is active grooming from birth. That's disgusting. And then you want to pull the wool over our eyes and try to redirect it. Oh, well, these women in Muslim countries getting their legs chopped up. This is not okay because it reduces her sexual pleasure. It reduces a man's sexual pleasure too. It's a whole bunch of nerve endings you just snipped off of an infant. That is fucking cruelty. That infant did not consent to you painfully removing sensitive portions of their genitalia for her pleasure. You want him to last longer. Tell you what, lady, you pump for 2 hours. You pump for 2 hours and bitch about stamina. And then, of course, there's the all men are only after sex. We have to be afraid to be attracted to a woman. But you are allowed to advertise that you need your guts smashed. When I think about guts being smashed, I think about my stomach hurting and explosive diarrhea. There is nothing sexy about explosive diarrhea, and I am appalled by the fact that that's the way that you advertise you want dick. And then I get to see how you treat men. Oh my God, I was just venting about how I felt, and all of a sudden I've got all these guys who just won't leave me alone. But then, of course, you see how she's mean to those guys who are unattractive. But then the one who is attractive, well, she'll send him a message in public saying, PM me. When she wants to type to him about all of the sexual stuff that she wants to do to him, she advertised for sex. She got to choose between all these men which one she wanted to have sex with. They all did the same thing, the good-looking one and the ugly one. But she shamed publicly the ugly men and then went behind everybody's back. Oh, we're going to hide the part where you're being a nasty whore. Or you want to say all these men who reached out to you and said, hey, I'm single, that they're all perverts who only want sex from you, when literally the post that you made is about wanting your fucking guts smashed. And then you're acting like a $2 hooker after shaming men for sex when you literally advertise that you want dick. You are fucking insane. That is not men's fault. We don't owe it to you whether you're skinny and pretty with a whole bunch of fake face painted on, or whether you are a natural beauty weighing 400 pounds. We don't owe you shit. We don't owe it to you. I don't owe it to you to date you. I don't owe it to you to earn $100,000 a year. I don't owe it to you to take care. Well, wait. Legally, I do. Legally, the majority of my taxes are going to go to women who don't want to work, who want freebies, who think that having unprotected sex and having children that they can't afford is all of our responsibility, and we owe them for having unprotected sex irresponsibly with some fucking idiot while they blame all ugly men. That's the reality of it. They're not blaming all men. They're blaming all ugly men for what the good-looking men do. And then they are shaming ugly men for even looking their direction. An ugly man walking through a parking lot gets gawked at like he's a rapist. A good-looking man who is muscle-bound with a tight t-shirt gets a lot of smiles walking through the parking lot here in Safeway. And in the Safeway itself, I know because I pay attention to my surroundings. I'm a Pete watcher not because I'm a creep, but because people are complex idiots. And the more you know, the more power you have. But then again, when an intelligent woman is taken advantage of, you don't tell her that it's her fault for being there, that she should have known better. You reserve that for men who are victimized. If a woman dresses like a $2 hooker, she dresses like a Catholic schoolgirl, is she advertising that she is an adult? No, the only thing that advertises that she's an adult is that she's old enough to go into the bar. Everything else about her is advertising underage pussy. She is trying to sell an image of being underage, of being younger than she is. What kind of a man are you going to attract if you go to a bar? You are older than 21 because you're in a bar. But you are dressed like a high schooler or a junior high schooler. And you've got a painted face on. And you're trying to show off your assets. What happens if a woman who paints herself up like that is attracted to a man and that man is talking to a fat woman? Then it becomes a power struggle and the pretty one hates the fat girl because she's a bitch. Imagine that. Saw that happen at the Sundown Saloon once. You know who the fat woman was? His sister. It wasn't his girlfriend. It wasn't someone who was trying to chat him up. He hadn't seen his sister in years. He was going to college, and she was there to visit him. But this girl, you see, she's legally an adult, but we don't consider a woman responsible as a legal adult at 18, 19, 20, or 21. We don't start holding them responsible or accountable until those pretty women start losing their looks. Once they start getting wrinkly, once they start getting gray-haired, once the mass quantities of makeup that they're putting on their face result in a breakout, and now they've got a pockmarked face. When we've got women who are advertising that they want a pedophile at the bar, that's what they're advertising is underage meat. They're advertising legal jailbait. They're selling the image of you get to bust your nut in underage vagina for free without any consequences. You're not going to go to jail for this little girl painting a fantasy that she's underage. You're not going to go to prison. Oh, joy. What kind of men are you going to attract at the bar, ladies? When a man is victimized, he's told he shouldn't have been there. If he goes to hang out with his fat sister at the bar and just hang out and play pool, and you aren't getting what you want, so you try to start a fight with a girl, a fat woman who's bigger than you, but you want to hide behind some men. Oh, and then what does it become? It becomes this fat woman's brother fighting with multiple men in a bar, and him being hauled off to jail and told, hey, it's your fault. You shouldn't have been there. You should have known that if you go to a bar, there's a chance that people might assault you. So it's your fault as a man for being there. And what is the chances of that overage meat past its expiration date for a pedophile, but, you put the right seasoning on it, you can't smell how rotten it is, right? You put the right seasoning on it, kind of like we got 40-year-old women getting liposuction and tummy tucks and chin tucks and facelifts. All this money to be, trying to advertise young meat. Because see, once a woman hits her mid-30s, she starts getting treated the way that men are treated their entire lives. She starts getting treated the way that fat women are treated their entire lives. She starts to realize that the freebies are fucking over. She better get pregnant quick so she can get free college. She better get pregnant quick by one of these chads so that she can find some idiot like my stepdad Scott to take care of kids that aren't his. For 18 years. While she cheats on him. Tells him he can't have a gift that his brother sent to him because it's got dragons on it. And that he can't have a hobby because he's not spending enough time with his family. Why wasn't he spending enough time with his family? Because he was on the road in Colorado, in western Nebraska, over at Scotts Bluff. What was my stepdad doing while my mom was spending his money on cocaine and having sex with anybody that she wanted to? And spending her money on stupid shit that she didn't need. It's Scott's fault because he's not home enough. Meanwhile, the reason he took that job is because my mom was bitching that he wasn't making enough money. No matter what, Scott's in the wrong. Meanwhile, what did Scott do? He took his credit card. He's a lonely man. He's on the road. He used his credit card so that he could purchase some 900 number imaginary punani. Then what did he do? I don't have access to his credit card or his code. So he tried blaming me. When my mom found out that Scott was calling 900 lines when I was 15 years old, they tried blaming me. I'm like, nope. I ain't committing credit card fraud. Scott's trying to hide the fact that because my mom's a fucking overbearing whore who wants to tell him he's not allowed to do anything. He can't have dragons or have a hobby. He can't stay with his family and earn all that money. Now, can he? He's a horrible person no matter what he does. When she says you're not earning enough money, he gets a job where he earns more money. But then he's not spending enough time at home, so he quits his job and comes back home and starts his electrician's business. Then, instead of spending the money that he's supposed to, that he's being paid by his clients, like the Hawkins family, he's getting paid by these clients to pay for permits and materials that he didn't purchase. He bought substandard materials and didn't bother to get the permits because my mom wanted to buy pretty things. She wanted to buy an armchair with angel back wings and claws for feet. While me and my little brother and my little sister went hungry. That's all right, though. I was working for Janet Roberts cleaning Cabela's corporate after school. What was I able to do? I was able to buy food for my siblings. When I got kicked out of my mom's house, I continued to work for Janet Roberts, and I continued to take food to the house so my little brother and little sister never had to go hungry. Then what does my mom do? Well, she gets on her video game and she spends 20 hours a day playing video games while Scott goes to work. And while she made Scott throw away his swords that had dragons on them, and made me throw away my Magic the Gathering cards because they had dragons on them, she was playing World of Warcraft and flying around on a dragon. Hypocrisy. Then Scott, he's got a character in a video game, and mind you, at this point in time, my mom is cheating on Scott with 3 different men in Chapel, Nebraska, and my stepdad knows it. So, he's got a character in a video game, and his character in the video game is male, and his male character in the video game marries a female character in the video game. Now, what does my mom do? She finds out about this. They play the same game, so she gets on the game, and she gets a hold of this woman character, finds out that it's a man. She kicks my stepdad out of the house. She's throwing stuff at him the way that Harley does with Dallas. She's hitting him and smacking him and telling him he needs to get the fuck out of the house. He's a sick pervert. He's a homosexual, and my mom hates homosexuals. Hates them with a passion. You know how popular I am with my mom because I stick up for homosexuals? I'm not. My mom spent her entire life mooching off of men and also extorting men, like my grandfather. My mom said that my grandfather raped her all growing up and that my dad rescued her from that. My dad was her knight in shining armor. And even then, my mom couldn't stop being a whore. No sense of loyalty. It was all about free stuff. And my mom, Lanny Engeline, Jerry Sparks, they're 3 females that I know that are entirely sexually minded. They don't know how to do it any other way. Lanny Engeline thought about dating Jeff Baldridge, but when she saw that his legs didn't move at all and that it was a spinal injury and not leg injuries, she assumed that his penis doesn't work. And if his penis doesn't work, that's a no-go for her in relationships. Asking a woman out denotes sex. Women change the word sex to dating to try to infer something different, but the reality is, what's the difference between a friend and a boyfriend? The dick. That's it. You expect men to give you stuff whether you're getting the dick or not. And so what if you have to lead them on a little bit, right? Whatever it takes to make ends meet, because men have it so much easier than women. Go fuck yourselves.